Take a question from the gentleman in the second row, please. Yousef.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. I'm from Kuwait. I would just like to say that in the past, most of the Gulf countries have mostly invested abroad, and they've supported a lot of countries abroad, and we've ignored a lot of social aspects in our own countries in the GCC. And most recently, we've developed and invested domestically. The link between the foreign laborers and the development of the GCC is that the infrastructure and the development that's been going on is linked to the foreign laborers, especially the unskilled workers who have been building the streets, building the buildings, and have created this development and the progress of the Gulf today in a way. But I believe that the link between the laborers and the government, especially with the recent laws that have been coming out, I think that a lot of the NGOs that have criticized the Gulf governments for not doing much, I believe that the unskilled laborers' own governments should take responsibility for the agencies that have sent them here and have not taken care of them properly.
So you don't think it's the role of government?
Well,
Najeeb Al-Nauimi.
I cannot disagree that the governments don't have laws or don't have regulations or don't have really an enforcement power that they have to correct things and makes it, in a proper way. They have. But there are points where you find the laborers being very well misled, and labor's departments always work on documents. I tell you a story I received about 4 people with a burn on their faces.
May I just say
let's just let the question come back.
Just to give an example.
Let's just let the question come back.
I believe that in recently, the governments have done a lot. For example, Sheikh Mohamed bin Rashid Al Maktoum in Dubai has publicly listed the companies that have abused the workers, and this is a step forward. And if we were talking about the past, that would be a different issue. But we're talking about today, and things have changed a lot today.
All right, thank you. We're going to take a question from the gentleman in the yellow shirt up there, please.
Hello, I'm Bashar from Palestine, and this is a question directed to Dr. Najeeb. Do you not think that with the simple implementation and enhancement of welfare offices and trade unions, that workers would not remain stranded and unpaid, as you said?
I believe they should have their own unions. I believe they should have their own organization. And I believe that they have to find them way to get themselves in a better position, because in this case, it's very difficult. Let me tell you, to add to something to you, people who are not really laborers. By the way, these guys are still at risk. Do you know the Gulf states have a discretionary power, the ministers, to deport anyone they want at any time they want without giving reasoning. We have experienced about 700 to 800 now laying down in the cages waiting for deportation. If there will be some kind of union, some kind of organization, we think these guys can challenge at least the government's decision and the government discussions to deport people out. Not only labor, even a very eminent doctors and teachers, a number of people have been put on the plane. They asked me, what did we do wrong? We tried to communicate with the Minister of Interior. They said, we don't need to give a reason.
All right.
This guy is out. We need an organization.
I want to ask Sheikh Mohamed why there are no rights to form trade unions here. Why not?
The Justice Minister is here.
No, but he's advocating the trade unions. Why does Qatar and other states? Why don't they?
I think we are losing the.
No, but I'd like to address that issue.
Into labor discussions where we live in a region which needs these workers. Even Bahrain today, the population is 50-50.
And what about trade unions? Why not?
Trade unions, I think this region is not ready for them because we...
What does that mean? It's not ready for them?
Let me finish. I don't know why you... The problem here, we are an oil, we have the oil industry, and we have made these big... Our hydrocarbon is the main thing. We cannot afford to have unions at this stage, especially on that industry. There is, I don't think that there is no rights yet to reach that level, but they are coming to something like this. I think Kuwait is pioneer in this. I think they have something that has started close to the trade unions. I'm not sure.
Well, there are trade unions, even if I may say. We have also trade unions in Bahrain, and there are trade unions in Kuwait, but they are deprived of the powers of collective bargaining, as well as all the rights that are mentioned in the International Labour Organization. The problem here is that we've been always told this is not the right time for your rights. I have lived my life, and I've lived long. I mean, in a way, I've always heard this statement mentioned in our newspapers, in our media, by our officials. It is not the time, it's not the right time for participation of the people. We will give you free education, just shut up. We will give you free health services, and just don't talk about anything. Don't criticize. And this is not right.
Mansoor, I happen to come from a country outside of the Gulf. And I am almost certain that in most countries outside of the Gulf, in the last 10 years, we have seen reversals in every sphere of civil liberties and political participation, notwithstanding the rhetoric. Media, freedom of the media, freedom to gather, freedom to form parties, freedom to hold officials accountable. In every single country outside the Gulf, we've seen this. You happen to come from one of the Gulf countries where there is, in fact, a vibrant experiment going on with parliamentary participation, with elections, with empowerment of women, with the inclusion of opposition parties in government. How fast do you want the train to go? How fast do you want to push countries in it?
Okay,
simply because the UN has set a standard.
First of all,
the point I'm trying
to... The first point, I need to answer the first point. I need to answer the failures of Arab Republican regimes do not justify our failures and delays in the political, in catching up with the world-class environment in politics and in economy. When we go to Norway or other places, they might be digging something between mountains that will never ever bring them profit, but it will link up one side of the country to the other. Assuming there is no society that we can run our country like an enterprise, like a private enterprise, is coming to an end.
Mansoor, what I'm trying to say is we believe both in the principle of good governance. We want our countries and societies to be properly governed.
And we can do it.
We can do it.
We don't have to wait.
No, Mansoor, I'm not saying we should wait. I'm not saying we should not do it. In fact, we should do it. All I'm asking you to do
is
to recognize, Mansoor.
All right.
Why don't we delay profit?
Will you please stop talking across each other?
All I've asked you to do is to admit that there is a trend of greater empowerment taking place in the Gulf countries relative to their past and relative to others in the Arab world. And if we start questioning this experiment at its inception, start derailing it, start pushing it in all directions, we might end up with nothing in the end.
All right, briefly, Sheikh Mohamed, briefly.
I think the problem with Arabs experimenting what Dr. Mansoor wants is really going first to correct the political situation and then go economic. I believe, personally, I'm not talking for any country.
Both. The economic process is wrong.
I believe that economic success for this region will bring automatic economic success, good education, will bring the right people to lead this region. That's why it failed in Hamas, it failed in Algeria. We don't believe in the way he is talking about. And I think we should let the economic success take its place, then we go into, it's going to be automatic.
I'm going to take another question.
I don't agree, we stop and then
Let me take a question from the gentleman in the fourth row, please. You've had your hand up, Yousef. Yes, please.
Good evening. My name is Nabil Gaber. I'm from Egypt. My question is for the opposition team, whether Dr. Tarik or Sheikh Mohamed. Are you aware that if we go right now to the industrial area here in Qatar, you'll find labor worker camps that are in such bad shape that they make refugee camps in Palestine look like 7-star beach resorts. They are in such poor shape that it's not even fair to call them houses. They're more like piles of stones with no roofs made of carton. It doesn't match any international standards for health, safety, security, or anything.
Have you seen these yourself?
Yes, I've been there. I go there every year and help with charity work. These people, they live sometimes 12 people in a room 4 meters by 5 meters. Would you call that valuing people over profit?
Which of you would like to take this question?
A question for you. Why do they come here?
Well, you claim that just because their countries treat them poorly, so that if here in the Gulf we treat them just a little bit less poorly, that makes it okay?
Najeeb, they come primarily for economic opportunities. These people
Of course they do.
Guest workers contractual workers are not here to secure citizenship. They plan to come, spend a few years.
I don't think the question was talking about citizenship. I think he was talking about
accumulate some funds. Accumulate some funds. They usually agree on the contractual arrangements in their home countries. And I can assure you, Najeeb, I have lived in India and I have seen the conditions of unskilled workers there. I do not condone nor support anything you may have observed, but I can assure you, this is not something that some official government has condoned, given the green light to, and is not planning to do anything about it.
That's just not that they mean to do it. It just happens to be this way.
Najeeb, you guys have had plenty of time. I think it's time to shift a little bit towards our side.
You've had time too. You've had time too.